All right, we are going to get started here. So thanks for being here. We're gonna close up the door here and we'll get going. All right, so any wins or successes from anything exciting happened since either this morning or the last time we were together anyway?
A lot of exciting things going on, you know. I personally started like 10 days ago.
And tell me your name.
My name is Moyed.
Moyed, okay.
Yeah, I started about like 10 days ago. That's success by itself.
That is good. So in fact, actually, I'm gonna write Moyed, right?
Yeah, Moyed.
All right. Well, good. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom land? Anybody? Any wins or successes? I'm gonna take that as a no, apparently. All right. Well, hey, before we get going again, we've got Inspiro here, it looks like. So take it away. Hopefully you can unmute yourself. There you go. Yep.
Okay, unmuted. Hi, everybody. My name is Allie Lovelace. I'm with Inspiro Financial in the California branch. We are a huge resource for you guys because one of the main things that you guys need to always focus on are pre-qualing your clients, and that's what we're here for. So we have different agents that sit in all the various California branches. So anytime you guys have any questions, we are just a resource that, I mean, really, we're just here for you guys. So I have some information that I can pass out to you guys if anybody wants something on how loans work, how they move through the process, how that is important and beneficial for you guys, what to expect when you're entering into escrows, things of that nature. So I have a lot of resources that I can share with everyone. And then I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with how pre-qualifying works and what happens when a deal goes into escrow, but I can answer any questions you guys might have.
All right, any questions for her?
Okie dokie.
I guess not. Oh wait, there is a question. Hang on, go ahead.
How does the deal go to the escrow? Like, being new, I just want to have better understanding.
Okay, did you hear what he asked?
I'm sorry, I could not hear.
Okay, say it again.
How a deal goes to escrow. What is the, because I'm personally a new agent, and
Okay.
I want a better understanding of it. So could you just give us like a summary about how it works exactly?
Yes, absolutely. So when we first talk with the client, we discuss with them what kind of payment they're comfortable with, and then we start gathering all of their financial documents so we can run their credit. We typically go off of a 2-year average, so we typically will ask for 2 years worth of taxes and W-2s, current pay stubs, and bank statements, kind of a big bulk of what we need. We analyze somebody's income versus their debt, called a debt to income ratio, or DTI. All of the DTIs fluctuate depending on what kind of loan program somebody is going to qualify for. So that could be a conventional loan, a jumbo loan, an FHA loan, or a VA loan. Once we get all of their documentation, a client gets an accepted offer, the file will then go to processing. The processor gathers all of the client's information that we provide, as well as all the escrow and title paperwork, and then the loan gets submitted to underwriting. While typically we're waiting for the loan to be underwritten, the appraisal gets ordered, and we submit all of that to the underwriter. They will then review and issue what's called a conditional loan approval. Which is very important for you guys because that's what we use to judge whether or not it's safe for a client to remove their loan contingencies so you guys can keep the deal moving along and working its way through the escrow process. Once loan contingencies are removed, our loan will typically go to closing, at which point the docs get drawn. They get sent to escrow, the client signs their final loan docs, and that's pretty much the end of the loan process, because then shortly after loan docs are signed, the loan is funded and then recorded. So that's a very, very brief overview of what happens with the loan. Every deal is different, but that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask the second question.
Yeah.
With the pandemic going on, a lot of people, they did not get their tax return for 2019. So is that an issue? Can we like ask the clients to provide 17 and 18, or does it have to be 19 as well?
So as long as they have filed a tax extension, and if they owe any money to the government, to the IRS, their payment typically has to be submitted unless they're on like a payment plan or something like that. But as long as we have an extension, we do not have to have 2019 tax returns. We would go off of their 2018, possibly 17, depending on what kind of line of work they're in. So yeah, we could definitely, you don't have to have 19 as long as you can.
Okay, good. And then there's one other question in the chat box that just was asking if you can give an overview of what's needed for a pre-qual.
Okay, so pre-qual, we typically need a client's driver's license, their last 2 months bank statements, the last 30 days worth of current pay stubs, and W-2s and tax returns.
Perfect. Oh yeah, another question. Hang on. So
Yeah.
Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to know about it. What is a jumbo loan?
Oh, she wants to know what a jumbo loan is, so that's going to be different in California than Utah. But
Yeah,
you probably don't know Utah's numbers, do you?
I do not. I do
Okay.
not know Utah's numbers.
Tell us California's anyway.
I know that every county has different. Well, at least California anyway. Every county has a different benchmarker basically for the loan amounts.
So, and in Utah, I want to say it's a little over 500 is going to be jumbo. 500,000. So.
Yeah, in California.
Oh yeah, 519 is what it says Utah. So yep, Jake put that in there. 519. Yep. So, all right. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just if she sends the like the paperwork that she has out to our email addresses.
Okay. So yeah, is that something you could send to me that I could forward on to them? Of
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. Talk to you later. Thanks for being here. All right, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to talk now. So here's the only thing I'm wondering. So I'm trying this differently. Usually I've got my AirPods in because I feel like you guys could hear a little better. But I'm just realizing as I'm looking at it that the screen while I'm talking though then is showing the other one. So you guys that are online might have to go to like the speaker view and then pin the one where you can see me up closer, which if you don't know how to do that, if you just go and hover over the one where you can see me closer up, click on the 3 dots and then click pin video. That will put that one up there so you can see what I write on the board if you're wanting to have that up there. So anyway, yeah. Thanks, Jordan. Just saw you put that there. Okay. So the way that I'm doing it is it's going to naturally show this bigger vision of what I'm doing. So which I'm going to walk around a little bit more, which I did last time as well. But if you want to pin the other one so you can see what I write on the board, do that. All right. So here's where we're going to start. I mentioned to you guys this morning of everything that I'm going to teach you guys in this class in particular, if you will do what I teach you in this class, it is 100% guaranteed to work. Meaning, I always worry a little bit about saying that because to some extent, I wonder if you're thinking, well, does that mean everything else you told us is not 100% guaranteed to work? Which I would say not necessarily, but like, I don't care who you are, like some of the stuff that I teach, like you may have to tweak it a little bit this way or that way to make it work for you. So I guess that's what I mean is when what I'm going to teach you today, I'm going to give you 4 principles or what I like to call protocols. Think of protocols as being rules. I'm going to give you 4 protocols that if you will follow these 4 protocols, it is 100% guaranteed to work. Now, what I mean by it when I say it's guaranteed to work, see, the other stuff that we talk about, you may tweak it a little bit this way or that way for you to make it work better for you. What I'm telling you about what we're going to talk about today is don't change it. You have to do it exactly the way I'm going to teach you to do it in order for it to work. If you will do it exactly the way I teach it, it will work. If you don't do it the way, if you try to tweak some of this, it won't work. And I guess I shouldn't say it won't work. I just can't guarantee you it will work. It may work, but I can't guarantee it. Versus if you'll do exactly what I teach you to do, it is guaranteed to work. So that's probably the better way of explaining it. Is everything else I'm teaching you, you could tweak a little bit here on this. I'm going to change that a little bit, and it'll probably still work. But this part, you got to do exactly what I'm going to teach you in order for me to say it's guaranteed to work. Okay? So keep that in mind as we go through it. Now, we're going to talk about how to work your sphere of influence in a way that will guarantee you that it's going to work. Now, before I get to that, though, I first got to make sure that you guys understand a couple of other basic things first. Then we'll get into that. So here's where I want to start with, is I'm going to write up here on the board, client. We're going to talk about what makes someone a client. So if we are talking about what is going to make someone to be a client for you, now in real estate school, they taught you what it means to have a client, meaning you've got fiduciary duties and all this stuff, I'm not looking for that. And what I mean by it, what you learned in real estate school is good and important, and follow it like that's the laws kind of a thing. But that's different from me being able to say, you're going to get paid from this person. And so what I want to talk about now for just a minute is what makes someone a client? What does someone have to have, do, or be in order for them to really be a client that I could then say to you, yeah, you're going to get paid off of this person. And it's going to be a little different than what maybe you learned in real estate school makes someone a client. So think of it that way. What they taught you in real estate school is the legal side of what makes someone a client. I'm going to teach you of what has to happen for you to get paid from a client. In order for you to get paid, these things have to happen. Okay. So what things do you think, what would you guys guess that has to happen for someone to be a client? Now, this first one that you're going to probably tell me is what you learned in real estate school. So what has to happen for them to be a client?
They have to trust you.
Okay, good. I like that.
We provide them a service.
Okay, good. I like that as well.
Have a contract.
Okay, good. Yeah, in real estate school, they taught you that what makes somebody a client for you is they've got to sign an agency agreement. Once they sign an agency agreement, they're now your client, right? That's okay. So I'm going to write it down this way. I'm going to write it down as you. Now, you're going to probably want to write more than that, but for the sake of space, I'm writing it down as just you, okay? In order for someone to be a client, here's how I would say for you to write it down. They have to be committed to working exclusively with you. So I wrote it up here as you, but how I want you to write it down for your notes is they have to be committed to working exclusively with you, okay? So they have to be, so sorry, Bree, I just realized too, I didn't point out that when I asked for wins and successes, she had put down that she put her first offer in this weekend. So give her a hand on that. Good job. That's exciting. All right. So yeah, so then Jordan puts actively looking to buy or sell real estate. They're looking to buy or sell real estate. Okay, good. That's going to be part of number 2. Number 1, though, is they have to be, so for your notes, they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. So in order for you to know you're going to get paid from somebody, they've got to be committed to working exclusively with you. Now, the way they demonstrate that, though, is through signing a contract. So by signing that buyer-broker agreement or an agency agreement is where they are saying, yeah, I'm going to commit to working exclusively with you. Okay? So that's the first thing that has to happen, which that part is true to what the law says. The second one, what they've said here, typed in the chat box, is actively looking to buy or sell real estate, or they're looking to buy or sell a property. Good. That's a part of number 2. Number 2, I'm going to write it down up here as needs. I'll tell you how to write it down. Here's how I want you to write it down. You should write this one down as, and I'll say this a few times so that you can get it. They have clear and present needs. So write it down as they have clear and present needs. So in order for someone to be considered a client, they need to have clear and present needs that can be met. So that's how I want you to write it down. So I've written it down as needs. You write it down as clear and present needs that can be met. So they have clear and present needs that can be met. When I say they have clear and present needs that can be met, what does that mean?
You're not gonna sell somebody.
Maybe they're moving or relocating for a job.
Okay, good. Like it. Go ahead, Molly.
You're not gonna like show people houses way out of their price range that they can't afford.
Okay, good. Yeah, so when I say clear and present needs that can be met is if they're qualified for X amount that they're willing to buy in that price range, good. What else? So clear and present needs that can be met.
Most people have an idea in their head that's just not reasonable to obtain. Like you have to put it in terms of, okay, is this actually something that can happen, or is this something that you think should happen?
Okay, good. I like that. Yeah. So think of it this way. They have clear and present needs that can be met. So number one, a lot of times people will say, well, they have to be able to qualify. So that would fall under that can be met. The clear and present needs is they're clear on what it is they want. It exists and they can qualify for it. So when I say clear and present needs that can be met, that's what I mean. Okay, next, number 3. These next 2 are a little bit harder. They're a little bit more obscure. So I don't necessarily expect you to get it, but I'm going to give you a chance to see what other thoughts you have. What other things would they either have to have, be, or do in order for them to be a client? All right, I'll give it to you. Next, let me make sure nobody's typing. Nope. Okay, number 3, I'm going to write it down as now. Here's how I want you to write it down as. They are prepared to buy or sell now. So when I say now, what I mean is they are prepared, if they're a buyer, to buy now. If they're a seller, they're prepared to sell now. They're prepared to buy or sell now. So when is now? When I say they're prepared to buy or sell now, when is now? Say that again. At the current moment. Okay, define that.
2:19 p.m. on August 18th.
At what time? What time, Jake?
2:19 p.m. on August 18th.
Oh, okay.
So if you found them the right house and they like it, they can act on it now.
Good. That's the way I like it. Go ahead.
I would say duration of the contract.
Okay. Duration of the contract. Okay, good. So I like the way Tishwan said it, which is basically this. When you find, if it's a buyer, you find the property that is their clear and present needs that can be met, they're ready to do it. If it's a seller and we get an offer in that meets what they're asking for, they'll accept it. So now doesn't necessarily mean today at 2 o'clock or tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock or whatever. Now means when we come across that property that you wanted, these clear and present needs, or if it's a seller, we get an offer in that meets what you're wanting, you're prepared and willing to accept it. That's what now means, okay? Next, number 4 on this one is tied to more around the management of a client. But here's what it is. They have to be tethered. What does tethered mean? The client has to be tethered. Okay, tied to you, good. So how would we tie the client to us? Okay, good, good. I'm glad you're thinking where you are, because usually people will say through a contract, which is not through a contract that we keep them tied to us. And it's actually a step above where you're saying, Molly. Rather than just having contact with them, you need to have, and I'm going to put in parentheses here, an appointment. You can't have a client if you don't have an appointment. So think of it this way. As soon as you get a client or someone that you believe to be a client, you should actually have them, every time you meet with them, schedule your next appointment. Don't leave an appointment with a client without scheduling the next appointment. That's how we manage our clients. You should never leave an appointment with a client without scheduling the next appointment. That's how we keep them tied to us, is we keep having a next appointment. See, what ends up happening to agents that they end up losing clients is they go meet with them and let's say for a buyer, and they go show them some houses. And then after they've showed them houses, they don't schedule a next appointment. And then now they don't, in our current market, maybe there's not a lot of inventory, so they don't come across one. The client then feels like you've forgotten them, and they'll go find somebody else to help. So the way we keep somebody as a client is after you meet with them, always schedule the next appointment that you're going to have with them. So if it's a seller and you list the property, schedule an appointment with them right after you are done with that appointment. Make sense? Okay. So this is what makes someone a client. The next thing we're going to talk about is what we would call a prospect, or you could think of it as a lead. Okay. So think of it, there's a prospect or a lead. Now, what makes someone a prospect or a lead? I didn't put my other parenthesis there. What makes someone either a prospect or a lead is they are deficient, meaning they're missing one or more of these 4 things. So anybody that you have that you don't have, they're not committed to working exclusively with you, they don't have clear and present needs that can be met, or they're not prepared now, or you don't have an appointment with them, I would say they're not a client, they're actually a prospect. Now keep in mind, from the division of real estate's point of view, they are still a client if you have the contract signed with them. But if not, from our perspective, if you're missing one of these, you now have a prospect or a lead, you don't have a client. That make sense? Okay, so if that's true, then how would we manage a prospect? Because remember, let's say that what we're missing, let's say I've got somebody who is committed to working exclusively with me. They have clear and present needs that can be met and they're ready to go now, but I don't have an appointment with them. Well, this is how I manage my clients. And because I don't have an appointment, they're now not a client, so they're now a prospect. How would I manage this group? Because I don't have an appointment with them, so it can't be through appointments. How would I want to manage that person who is committed to buying with me? They have clear and present needs that can be met, and they're ready to go now, but I don't have an appointment.
Harass them every day.
Okay, probably not harass them, but you're on the right track. Okay, so
make an excuse to make an appointment. Like, I need to get signed this document. Can we meet up in person or do something like that?
okay, so go ahead.
I would, since it's my client, I know what they're for and everything. So I would go in preview preparation for them, and I would tell them, hey, I have to do preparation.
Okay, so you're saying go out and find some properties that you could then tell them you found one to go look at, okay? So I like where you guys are thinking, meaning, yes, we want to get an appointment with them, but if I don't have one, how am I going to manage it? Because I don't have the appointment.
I would give them some anxiety. Say, hey, look what you missed in the market the past.
Okay, but how are you going to do that? So you guys are thinking too big. Think more general. How are you going to, everything you guys said is right on, but how are you going to do it?
Follow up with
Yeah,
them.
that's it. What'd you say, Andrew?
Follow up with them.
Yeah, that's it. Here's what we need to do. Is I know you did say it in a, but I had to have. It's part of the class. Come on. All right. So I'm going to have contact with them. How often? How often should I have contact with them?
I would say a minimum of once a week.
Perfect. That's exactly right. Minimum of 1 time per week. Now, why? Why should it be minimum once a week?
Hey, here's all the new properties that came up this week. We need these.
Okay, good. I like the idea, but there's more to it than even that. Why should I have contact with them? Yes, to say, hey, here's some potential properties, but why?
It
Why?
keeps them active in what you're doing and keeping you in the forefront of their mind, so they don't forget what's happening.
Okay, good.
And also show the client that you're disciplined in trying to find them the property they're looking for.
Good. Yeah, here's the thing. What you guys are saying is right on. Here's why this is the case. It is not uncommon for a buyer specifically, less likely on a listing, but a buyer of a house, it's more likely for them to feel like they're abandoned by you if you're not staying in touch with them. And this happens all the time with agents. They quit having the communication with them and staying in touch. The client then feels like you've abandoned them, and so then what do?
They go elsewhere.
That's right, they go find someone else. So the reason we need to be having contact at minimum once a week, and the idea of the contact is to try to get an appointment, which is what you guys said. Yes, I want to try to get an appointment, but the purpose of it is just so that they don't feel like I've abandoned them. I want to stay in front of them, okay? Now, so think of it this way. A lead or a prospect, and even think of it this way as, like I said it as if they're missing one of these things, they're a prospect. Sometimes they drop into your funnel as this lead or a prospect, where what you're trying to do is get them to become a client. So you're trying to get all of these things. It may be to begin with, you're missing all 4 of these things, in which case you should stay in touch once a week. Remember we talked yesterday and even this morning a little bit about lead follow-up, making sure that you're doing that. This is why. We want to make sure people don't fall through the cracks. So what I'm doing is, think of it this way, is I am staying in contact, trying to get them to become a client. So a prospect is becoming a client, is what our objective is. Now, in the event that they're not going to do that, they're going to become this other thing we're going to spend the rest of the day talking about over here, or I'm going to drop them, okay? So think of it this way. When you get a lead, what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to get them to become a client is your objective. And until they become a client, I should be calling them once a week, staying in touch with them until they become a client, or they become what we're going to talk about over here, or I drop them. Now, Tushwan, before at the end of class, and I don't remember if I had turned off the video or not, so I'm going to bring everybody else kind of up to speed. In fact, I think I had turned off the video. She asked, hey, so like I'm trying to get an SOI, but I moved here less than 3 years ago. I don't really have that many people that I know in Utah. How do I work a sphere of influence when I don't have that? And I said, well, you're going to have to go create basically a bunch of sphere of influence. Now, here's the other side. The other thing I said to her was this. You're probably better off than the person who has lived here and has a huge sphere of influence. And not totally true, but I say that because the people who have lived here their whole life and have a huge sphere of influence are also the ones who won't call those people. So they might as well not have one because they don't call them anyway. So from that respect, you're actually better off than those people because those people feel like, well, I have one and I'm going to call them. They just aren't doing it. And so I like where you're at better because essentially what you're going to do is you're going to go create one that you will call versus the agent who has lived here their whole life and doesn't call. Slide. There you go. The agent who's lived here their whole life and doesn't call is worse because they have it, they just won't do it. So you're better off almost not having it. So if you have lived here and you feel like you're not going to call them, then just treat it as if you just moved here. And I'm going to show you what to do, okay? So think of it this way, though. So here's how I want you to think of it. In all of your prospecting that you do, you are looking for one of 2 things. You're looking for your primary objective, and we'll say more about this tomorrow in the lead class, but your primary objective is to set an appointment. If you cannot set an appointment with the person, then your objective is to capture them as a lead. And then you want to stay in touch with them as a lead once a week until they either become a client, they become what we're going to spend the rest of the class talking about, or you just drop them because they tell you to leave me alone or you just decide to leave them alone. One of the 2, okay? That's how this is going to work. So now, this last area we're going to talk about here, which we're going to spend the rest of the class talking about, is what I call suspects. And I don't know why, but every time I have taught this class for 15 years, people laugh when I say suspects. Next time, I'm going to tell you guys on Zoom, unmute your phones because I'm about to tell you a joke and I want to hear if you laugh. So you guys are too serious. Anyway, that's okay. Hey, it's all on me. I get it. I got to just be funnier. I'll work. All right. So here's the deal. We're going to spend the rest of the time talking about what makes somebody a suspect. And I'm going to give you 4 protocols. Remember I said protocols are different than rules. A protocol is a required condition. So remember, most of the stuff I'm going to teach you in, I expect you're going to leave and go tweak it a little bit. I am telling you again, even though I know I already said it, but I'm going to say it many times throughout this next hour and whatever, however long we are. You have to do it the way I say. If you will do it the way I say, it is guaranteed to work. If you change it, I can't guarantee it. Might still work, but I also can't guarantee it. If you'll do it the way I tell you to do it, I will guarantee it will work, because it is a math problem is what I'm going to be showing, okay? All right, so with that in mind, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move into now me explaining some pieces to you, and I just realized here's the problem with me having the to do this. I need more board. All right, just remember this, and because I'm going to come back and we'll talk about it later, okay? All right, so here's the thing. Now, we're going to talk about 2 systems. We're going to talk about 2 types of systems. The first system we're going to talk about is what's called an open system. Then we're going to talk about what's called a closed system. Now, we're going to do some math here, but don't freak out because it's not going to be that big of math. So Jordan says he's in the same boat. He just moved to Salt Lake, and good. Glad to hear it, because like I said, in a lot of ways you guys are better. We're going to talk about 2 systems. One is an open system. The other is a closed system. In an open system is the way that most people approach working their sphere of influence, is they approach it as an open system. And the problem with an open system, you'll see in just a minute, but there's a problem with the open system, and that's what gets in the way. Remember I said there's 4 protocols I'm going to give you. You got to follow these protocols as required conditions, and it will work. The first one that we're going to talk about is this closed system. But first, I have to help you understand what an open system looks like so that you can see what the problem with an open system is. Then we're going to go into the closed system. So let me draw up here. I'm going to just draw a circle on the board here. A poorly drawn one, but a circle. Now, remember, what I'm showing you is how an open system works. In an open system, what happens is this. Now, when I first got my real estate license, my broker, my manager, had given me a formula. Now, and you guys that were here yesterday will remember part of this from yesterday afternoon's class that we talked about. And what he said was something like this. And I mentioned it to you guys, which this is a good place to start, but you don't want to stay there for very long because it actually is not really true what I'm going to say next, okay? Meaning, but it is prominent in our business. So we're going to talk about 2 types of things. The first thing is what we would call an open system, and the other is a closed system. But contained within an open system is 2 pieces, and there's 2 types of data. There's empirical data, and then there's anecdotal data. Now, you guys that don't like math, don't tune out on me. Just stick with me. It's not going to be that big of a math thing. But make sure you're paying attention. When it comes to data, there's 2 types. There's empirical data and anecdotal data. What is anecdotal data? You're right on. Say it louder so they can hear you.
A story with it.
Yeah. So essentially, anecdotal data is a story we tell. This business that you are in, real estate, is full of anecdotal data. And I'll say more about that even tomorrow. I'm going to show you some of the other. But the other side of it is empirical data. So what's empirical data? Yeah, it's the numbers, it's the studies, it's the proof of it. So our business is full of anecdotal data, stories, okay? Now, this is one of the stories that gets told. But I'm going to show you where it comes from. Because remember I said to you guys yesterday that ultimately, if you were to figure out how many transactions you wanted to do, that is the number of contacts you should make every day. So if you're wanting to make 40 transactions, you got to do 40 contacts every day. I'm going to show you where that comes from why people say that. And like I said, it's a good place to start, but it's actually not really true. And the reason that it's a good place to start is because what it does is it gets you as an agent started on prospecting. That's why I like it. It's good to get you going, but if you really go and look at it, it's really actually not very true. But so I'm going to show you where that came from. And basically where it came from is this. So let's assume that I have a map, that I just took a map of either Salt Lake County or Ventura County or LA County. I don't know if any of you guys are in LA County. Most of you are in Ventura from what I saw opposite. In Ventura County, or you took Salt Lake County, and I were to just draw a circle on the map. Essentially, what it says is this. So this is what the anecdotal data says, is that the odds of people making a move every year is 14%, okay? Actually, oh, sorry, no, I lied. 7%, sorry about that. I'll tell you why I said that in a second. The census, so, and this happens to be a census year, but when they do the census, what they have found is 12% of the population will move every year. So essentially 12% of the population is in flux, but that includes renters. If you factor out the renters, 7% of the population is in the process of buying or selling a home essentially at any given moment, okay? So 7% of the population is in the process of doing that. Well, what that means is this. If I took a map and I had 1,000 people on this map, now the truth is the numbers have to be bigger than that. It's probably got to be more like 100,000. But to keep the math easy, we're going to use 1,000. Now, if I were to do that and to say, okay, here's 1,000 people, and again, it would have to be bigger than this to really play out this way. But essentially, out of that 1,000 people, 100 people, actually, let's make it even simpler. Let's go to 100, okay? So now keep in mind, it's probably got to be more like 100,000 or at least 1,000, or excuse me, 10,000. But if I just said out of 100 people, 10 of them are going to be in the process of buying or selling, and 1 of them should be a transaction you should get. So this is some of the anecdotal information you're going to hear in this business, and it's rampant. Basically, what you are going to hear if you have never heard it yet is if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads, and from those 10 leads, you should get a transaction. This is the anecdotal way that it is said. And this is the way my manager taught me as a brand new agent, is if you'll go talk to 100 people, you'll get 10 leads, and from those 10 leads, you should be able to do 1 transaction, okay? Now, where that came from is this. If 7% of the population is in the process of buying or selling at any given time, out of 100 people, how many transactions would that be? I think I've thoroughly confused you guys. I've talked so much about it. If 7% of the population is in the process of buying or selling, and I talk to 100 people, how many of those 100, if 7% are in the process of buying or selling, how many transactions is it? Okay, it's actually 14. That's why I wrote 14 initially. Now, why? Why is it not 7 and instead it's 14? That's right, because keep an eye on what I said, is how many transactions, not how many homes, but how many transactions. So for every transaction that takes place, meaning every time a home sells, there's a buy side and a sell side to it. So that, we double count the transactions basically. So when we talk about, let's say 3,000 homes selling, that would be 6,000 transactions because there's a buy side and a sell side. Make sense? So this is essentially where it comes from. Is it saying out of 100 people, 14 of them, there should be 14 potential transactions, and you should be able to capture 1 of them, is essentially where it is. But because this is all anecdotal information, what people have done is just made it look better, and instead of said 14, we say 10. So out of 100, you should get 10 and turn it into 1 transaction. That doesn't sound too bad. And the reason that gets said so much in our profession is because that actually makes it sound pretty decent. that if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads and 1 transaction. But here's the problem with that. What that really is talking about is the lack of understanding of this process that I'm talking about in terms of open systems versus closed systems. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we have got a number of people. We've got on here, it says 18 participants, and I've got 5 in the room with me. So 5 people here in the room with me. So now watch how this is going to work. And so I'm going to use the 5 that are in the room, and then I'll use 4 of you guys that are, actually 5 of you guys that are online as well. So if this is true, out of 100 people, we should get 10 leads and 1 transaction. So if I come over here and I talk to Philip, and he says to me, no, we're not interested in buying or selling. Okay, next. Because essentially what this is saying is 1 out of every 10, right? Okay. So now I come over here. No. Go back here. No. Go to Hannah. No. Molly. No. Now, I come over here and I start, so I knocked on your doors. So there's 5 people that I've knocked on the doors. And I'm just going to go in alphabetical order, so don't be offended, you guys that are online. So I call up and I talk to Andrew, and he tells me no. Oh, and then I go to Savannah, which, so I was going to say, that's a good way to get moved to the top of the list is unmute. Did you have a question, Savannah?
Oh, no. I accidentally pressed it.
Oh, no worries. You're good. I just was going to say, if you want to get included, just unmute and it'll bring you to the top of the list, even though you're not alphabetical. All right. So I go to Andrew and he says, nope, not interested. So now I've talked to 6 people. I go to Becky. She says no. Well, now I've talked to 7. Bree. She says no. There's 8. Irma. She says no. 9. Okay, so now I go to Dan. Now remember, what do the numbers say?
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. All right, so Dan, what are the chances that when I knock on his door, or I guess since you're online, that when I call him on the phone, based on what this says, what should happen when I get to Dan?
50%.
So according to this, Dan is going to say yes. Because
Yeah, I'm
1
gonna
out of
sign
10. What'd you say, Dan?
I said, yeah, I'm going to sign up with you.
You're going to? All right,
Yeah,
good.
of course.
Sweet. See, class is over then. Just do that, you're good. See, it works. All right, here's the problem with that. That's what happens when you're working in an open system, is this sounds good. But in an open system, that is not the way it works. Let me show you what I mean. So I brought here this dice. How many sides to this dice?
6.
Okay, good. I'm glad nobody said 7. Okay, good. So there's 6 sides to this. Just pick a number between 1 and 6. 6, okay. What are the odds that when I roll this, sorry, Jordan, he beat you to it and said 6. So what are the odds that I'm going to roll either a 6 or a 3? But let's say a 6. What are the odds that I'm going to roll a 6?
1 out of 6.
Yeah, 1 out of 6, right? Now, is that what really happens though? So let's find out. So you guys watch. So this is the other reason I wanted to use video up here. So you might need to unpin or go to different views if you want to be able to see this online. I'm going to see how many times it takes me to roll this to get a 6. So let's see what happens. Because in essence, when we say this, if you talk to 100 people, 10 should get 10 leads and turn into 1 transaction. Essentially, we're saying the same thing as this. If I roll this dice, I'm going to see how many times I have to roll it to get a 6. Okay. So there's 1. I got a 5. There's another 5. So I rolled it 2 times. There's 3 times, and I got a 3. 4 times, and I got a 3. 5 times, and I got a 2. So wait, I should get it right now, right? I've covered it up so you can't see. I should get, based on what you guys said, 1 out of 6. And I've rolled it 5 times, and I just did 6.
720.
721.
1 out of 720.
Oh.
Okay, you have really good.
So I got a 3. So, okay, let's see how many times I got to roll this now. Well, okay, so I had to do it 7 times. Well, wait a minute. You guys said it was 1 out of 6. So let's see what happens. How long do I have to roll it again? Oh, there's 1. Okay. So there's a one, there's 1, and it was a 1. 2, and it's a 5. 3, a 5. 4, and it's a 1. 5, and it's a 5. So I'm going to get a 6, right? Right here, guaranteed. So I got a 3. So there's 7 times I've rolled it. 8 times. 9 times. What's going on? 10 times. 11. 12. 13. Okay, I had to roll it 14 times to get a 6. So you guys told me the odds were 1 out of 6.
Each time you roll, not overall.
Okay, good. So now you're starting to figure it out. So watch this. Here's the problem. See, that's the problem with this type of a thing of, hey, if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads in 1 transaction. The problem with that is it's very similar to what we were just talking about this is. Okay? The odds are 1 in 6, but I had to roll it 14 times.
That's the difference between probability and possibility.
Okay, good, good. So watch this now. So now look, here's what people don't tell you. So let's see. Andrew said, I'd love to know what the record is for the most attempts it's taken to roll a 6. I think that might have been it, actually. So, okay, now watch this. Here's what this really says. When we say 1 out of 10, here's what it really says. What are the odds when I get to Philip?
50%.
No. If it's that, what are the odds? 1 out of 10. But I'm going to say it differently. The odds are 9 to 1 in whose favor? Not mine. So the odds are really 9 to 1 against me that he's going to be a transaction. So now I come to Shuan. What is it? Okay, so now I get what is? What is it? Now Anna. What are the odds? Molly. Okay, so now I go back over to here. I get on the phone and I call Andrew. What are the odds that Andrew is going to be a transaction for me? 9 to 1. What? Against me. Okay. Then Becky. The odds are 9 to 1. Bree. 9 to 1 against me. Irma. 9 to 1 against me. Well, now I'm on number 10, which is Dan. What are the odds? 9 to 1. They're 9 to 1 against me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though you like me, I know. The odds are still 9 to 1. Now I go down the list and I get to David. What are the odds? 9 to 1 against me. See, here's the problem. In an open system, which is the way most people work their business, in an open system, the odds do not get better the more you do it. See, that's the problem. We look at this and go, well, God, that looks like it's pretty good, 1 out of 10. But in actuality, what it says, if you really understand the way that odds work, it stays 9 to 1 against you every time you do it. Now, there is something in math that we're not going to get into that is called regression towards the mean, that basically says, if I rolled this dice and I rolled it 100,000 times, how many times would the 6 come up? If I did it 100,000 times, it's essentially going to be 1 out of 6. But it's probably going to be 1 point so many out of 6 or something like that. Like, it's not going to be exact. But because of this principle called regression towards the mean, it's going to eventually balance out, is basically what it says. Here's the problem with that. Your real estate career might not last long enough for you to balance out to this 10 to 1. That's the problem with an open system. Okay, so there's 2 types of systems. There's an open system and a closed system. The way that most agents approach working their business is in an open system. And the problem with an open system is the odds never get better. You can get better, but the odds don't get better. That's the problem. So now let me show you a closed system, how this works. Same dice. Only this way we're going to do it different. We're going to do it differently this time. Now on this one, what we're gonna do is, on this one, I'm gonna change the rules. And I can change the rules because this is my game. And because it's your real estate career, you get to decide what the rules are for your career as well. That's the good news. But so this is my game. Now, here's the point. You can't go to Vegas and do what I'm going to teach you to do. If you could, I would not be teaching this class. I would be in Vegas doing this so that I was just making all my money that way. I wouldn't be here teaching you. So you can't do it. If you try to do this in Vegas, you'll end up out in the middle of Nevada somewhere dead. All right. So don't try that. Oh, shoot. I forgot to tell you guys to unmute because these guys here don't laugh at any of my jokes. So, all right. Wow. They still. All right. Heck with you guys. All right. Watch this. So here's what happens. Maybe the problem's not you. Maybe it's me.
No, just have the.
It's just the afternoon. Yeah. You guys just have no personality, is that what you said?
I'm gonna take notes now.
Oh, okay. All right. So watch what we're going to do. So we're going to change the rules of the game. This time, now pay attention to how many times it takes me to roll a 6 this time. This time, though, how I'm going to do it is this way. This time, if I don't get a 6, I'm going to put a sticker. So I've got these stickers here that I'm going to put a sticker on any number that's not a 6. If I roll it and the sticker shows up, I get a free throw, which what that means is we don't count that roll. You follow me? Now, so let's see how long it takes me. How many rolls do I have to do to get a 6 by doing it that way? Now watch. Okay, so there's a 5. So now I'm going to take this sticker here. I'm going to put it on the 5. So you guys help me keep track. So now if the sticker shows up, I get a free throw. It doesn't count against me. Okay, so now let's go again. So I've rolled it 1 time. There's a 6. Okay, so I had to roll it how many times to get a 6? 2. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so there's a 6. 1 to 1. See how good this works? There's a 6. 1 to 1. See? You just change it to a closed system and it works perfect. All right, there's a 1. So now I'm going to put another sticker on it. So I've rolled it 1 time. And there's the 1, free throw. So I've still only rolled once because I get a free throw. There's the 3. So now I'm going to put a sticker on the 3. So we've rolled it how many times? 2, right? Because we're just keeping track of how long it takes me each time to get a 6. So I've rolled it twice. There's a 4. So now I've rolled it 3 times. So let me put another sticker on. There we go. Free throw, doesn't count. How many times have I rolled it? 3 times? And a 6. Okay, so I rolled it 3 times. That one, it took 3 times to get a 6. Now let's do it 1 more time. I think only 1 more. Yeah, we're going to do it 1 more time. Maybe twice, but we'll see. There's a 6. Okay, so let's keep going. So free throw, 6. Free throw. So I still haven't even rolled it. Like I've either gotten a 6 or a free throw every time now. See if we can. I'm hoping the 2 will show up eventually. Free throw. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to put a sticker on the 2. So now there's a sticker on every number except for the 6. So how many times am I going to have to roll it to get a 6? Only once that counts. From now on, if I can get this sticker off. Well, I'm not getting it off. You get it. From now on, I'm a 1-to-1 ratio. But what's the most number of times that I had to roll it to get a 6? 3? Notice on a closed system, what happened is the more I did it, the more likely it was that I would get a 6. See, that's the difference. In an open system, the more you rolled it, the more I rolled it, what did it do to the odds? Nothing. Well, in an open system, nothing changed. The odds stayed at 1 to 6 every time I rolled it. In a closed system, every time I rolled it, the chances got better and better because I kept putting a sticker on. How would you like to do real estate that way? Okay, I'm going to teach you how. So that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to get into how do you do real estate this same way to where what you can do is create, the more times, the longer that you're in the business, the more likely it is that you do business, okay? And so what that's gonna look like is this. So now, remember I had drawn up here the client, prospect, suspect? What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go through, let me get some, hopefully, different colors here. Hoping we have a red. I might have to use pink. We're gonna pretend that pink is red for what I'm gonna show you. Okay, so I'm gonna show you now how to do this system like we did here. And now notice, the way that I created this is by me saying, here's the rules that we're gonna follow of the game. And then as we did it, I either rolled I got it to the point that I'm either gonna get a free throw or a 6 every time I do it. That's how I'm gonna teach you how to do real estate. So now, keep in mind, pretend we had drawn over here. I'm gonna put it about as far over here as I can that you guys can still see it. And I'm gonna have suspect up here. So remember, and you can think of it as SOI too. But remember, over here, we've got the prospect and the client over here, okay? All right, now, with that in mind, I'm gonna now show you how to do this as a closed system. So the first protocol, remember I told you I was gonna give you 4 protocols. The first protocol that you have to follow in order for this to work for you is your sphere of influence has to be a closed system. Said another way, it has to be fixed in size. So what size should it be? See, because part of what's going to make it a closed system is by making it fixed in size. If I don't have it fixed in size, it can't be a closed system, and then therefore it won't work. So here's what I mean by that. I will hear agents that have been in the business for a long time. You ask them, how many people do you have in your sphere of influence? And they will tell you things like this. I've got 4,000 people in my sphere of influence, or I've got 1,000 people, or 5,000, or 10, or whatever. Like, you're going to hear these huge numbers of people they have in the sphere of influence. Well, what I'm telling you is, if you do it that big, it's not going to work. And you'll see why here in a second. But it has to be fixed in size. Now, what size should it be? Ultimately, it doesn't matter what size it is. Now, I'm going to tell you a number that I want you to use to begin with. But over time, you can change it to whatever number you want it to be. So I'm going to tell you for now, it needs to be 200 people in size. Now, if it's a closed system, meaning it's fixed in size, what happens, not how many, let me ask it this way. And I've been neglecting you guys on Zoom. So I'm asking this question of you guys. So somebody unmute and tell me. If I all of a sudden have 201, what do I have to do?
Somebody's got to go.
Say it again, Sunshine.
Somebody has to go.
Okay, good. What if I have 199?
Somebody has to be added.
Okay, good. So you guys get it, right? It has to be fixed in size. It can't be 201 and it can't be 199. So if you have 200 and you meet somebody new that you want to add into here, you got to get rid of somebody. Or you drive by one of these 200 people's house. Now, thankfully, this doesn't happen. You drive by their house and it's listed for sale and it's not your for sale sign. It's got somebody else's sign out front. You now have 199. You got to go find somebody else to replace it with. So here's the thing. You have to have 200 people in there. Now, the question usually comes up, so I'll answer it before you guys ask. So for Tishwan, she said, you don't have 200 people, right? I'm assuming. Okay, how many people would you say you have that you could count as sphere of influence?
I have 89 people.
Okay, so she's got 89. So what does she need to do? Well, here's what I would say she needs to do. Build it up to 200. Well, how's she going to do that? Prospect. Go make phone calls and find people. So now remember, when she makes phone calls, what she's looking for is people to get an appointment with. But if she can't get an appointment with them, then she wants to get somebody that she can add to this. So what she's going to say is, I've got a select group of people. So this is the script you want to use to add people to it. I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. So I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. I would like to add you to that group or to that list. Okay. So I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. And you could add to that, about real estate or something along those lines if you wanted to. But I've got a select group of people that I stay in touch with. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? And then they're going to say, yes, that would be okay. And you're going to add them to your list. That's how you're going to get people in there. So that's what your next step is along the way, is that's what you got to do. All right. Go ahead, Mom.
Count like couples as one person. I mean, like they would be moving together.
Okay. So yeah, good question. The answer to that is I'll let you decide.
Okay.
Now, part of how you're going to decide though is based on what I give you as protocols number 2 is, well, I'm trying to think 3, 2, maybe 2 and 3, but mostly number 2. So ultimately, I'm going to let you decide on that if you want to count them as 2 or 1. And I don't really care either way. You decide based on when I give you protocol number 2. Okay? Philip, you have it.
I answered my own question.
Oh, okay, cool. Good. Philip will be teaching the rest of the class because he's got all the answers. All right. Okay, so first thing is that it has to be fixed in size. Now, let me show you what's going to happen with this, though. As a result of that, I'm going to draw up here for you this. Okay. This is what I've just drawn up here is half of a bell curve. But another way of saying it is the learning curve. So I've drawn up here for you the learning curve. And the process that you're going to go through in doing this, which I should have probably said this at the start of the class, so I'll say it now. I'm going to give you 4 protocols, and I already told you that they are guaranteed to work. Here's the unfortunate thing. Most of you are not going to do it. So I'm going to give you 4 protocols that are 100% guaranteed to work, and they are guaranteed to provide for you over a 6-digit income, guaranteed. And you'll see actually that when I run the numbers, it's probably more like $150, $200, or $250,000 a year, guaranteed. But I'm telling you right now, most of you are not going to do it. And I don't say that to be mean. I don't say it because I doubt you. I'm just saying on around 15 years of me teaching this, most of you, I am telling you right now, are going to leave this class so excited about what I'm teaching you, and then you're not going to go do it. And I'm saying that hopefully to have you be like, not me, I'm going to be the one that does it. So I hope you are. But I'm going to show you why people are not going to do it. The process to get it up and running is going to look something like this. It's going to take 6 to 9 months for you to get it to this point. So notice I'm showing you right here is where it's really going to take off. Is once you hit this line is where it's going to really take off for you. But in order to you to get that is going to take 6 to 9 months. Now the good news is it doesn't have to be 6 to 9 months before you do a transaction, but before you can have it to be something that you can rely on, like I'm telling you, it's going to take 6 to 9 months for that to take place. And you'll see why in just a minute. But the reason most of you are going to struggle with this is because look at what happens the first few months. What happens? Nothing. Well, that's not true, actually. And in fact, how much do you guys know about bamboo and how it grows? How long does bamboo have to germinate, or how long is it in the ground putting its root structure in place before it grows? You guys know?
9 months.
Nope. Longer.
If I remember, it's like 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. So ultimately, here's what I'm saying to you. For the first few months, this is going to look like bamboo growing. Good news is it doesn't take 4 years. Might take 4 months. But for bamboo, for the first 4 years, if you're looking at the ground, it looks like nothing is happening. Well, this process I'm teaching you, the first few months, it's going to feel like nothing's happening. You're going to do everything I'm telling you to do, and you're going to feel like, well, it's not working, so you're going to quit doing it. See, you're going to be just about to, not all of you, but some of you are going to be just about to right here. It's just about ready to take off for you, and you quit doing it. Because you feel like, well, I did all this work and it's not working, so Russ is wrong, and I'm just going to go do something else. So just keep in mind, you got to be patient. And I'm just telling you, remember in the first class today, I said power comes out of telling the truth? This is what I'm talking about. I'm telling you the truth now. That you got to be patient with this for a few months. But it will work. Because it's a math problem. I'm going to show you the math. It is guaranteed to work, but you have to be willing to put in the price and be patient with it for a few months until it starts to work. But when it takes off, look at what happens. Now, with bamboo, Jake, since you seem to be knowledgeable on it, what happens when it starts to grow? And anyway, go ahead.
It starts growing like crazy. It can grow, if I remember right, even up to a foot a day.
That's right. So over a couple of week period, it goes to being 80 or 90 feet tall in just a few weeks. Usually that's what people say. When I ask, what do you know about how bamboo grows? That's what they know, is it takes off like this and it'll grow 80, 90 feet in just a couple of weeks. What they don't realize is it took 4 years to get the root structure in place first. That's what's happening with this. If you will just keep this in mind, I'm going to give you the 4 protocols. I've already given you number 1. I'm going to give you 4 protocols that if you'll follow them, they will work. But you got to keep in mind that it's going to take a little bit of time to get the root structure in place before that's going to happen. Okay? So keep in mind, it's going to take a little bit of time, but once it goes, it's going to go fast when it goes. Okay? Now, all right. So with that in mind, let me actually, I want to say one other thing, then we're going to get into protocol number 2. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys is this. There is no such thing as a silver bullet or a magic bean or whatever. Meaning, you are going to have people come to you in real estate and tell you, oh, you should switch companies, or you should go buy this tool. If you'll do this, it's going to bend. If you'll do this, it's going to create all this money for you. Like, people are going to use shiny objects to try to get money out of you, telling you that if you'll do this, you won't have to work and you'll be able to make all this money. I'm telling you right now, there is no such thing. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic bean. There's no pill that if you just take it, all of a sudden people are attracted to you to do real estate. It doesn't exist. So when people try to sell that to you, other companies or whatever, just recognize it doesn't work. I'm going to give you as close of a thing to it as exists to that, but it's still, you're going to see it's going to take some work. It's not hard, but it's going to take some work for you to do this, but it will work, 100% guaranteed. And I'm not asking you to pay me any money for what I'm going to show you in it. So like, that's why I'm saying there's no magic bean, there's no silver bullet, there's no shiny object that other companies are going to try to tell you, oh, if you came over here and our marketing is going to make you all this money. No, it's not. It's a lie. But work will get you there, and if you'll follow this process. All right. So with that in mind, let's go into the next piece of this. So number 2 on this. Actually, I'm going to do one other thing first. Let me do something else first. I'm going to change up the order here. I'm going to show you why it takes 6 to 9 months. Now watch this. Watch what happens. So I'm going to show you what the power of a closed system. So I'm going to have 3 colors up here. Hopefully you can see this pink. I don't know what, we had a red marker, but I don't know what happened to it. No, that's pink. Oh well, we'll pretend it's red unless it doesn't work. All right, so watch this. Now, assuming, I'm going to use, how many people do you have to have in the closed system? 200. Good. I'm going to show you the numbers I'm going to do right now. We're going to do it as if it's 100. But you have to have 200. So don't decide, oh, well, Russ said 100 in this. That's, you still have to do 200. The only reason I'm doing 100 is to show you the easiness of the math, and you'll see all this, okay? Now, here's why it's going to take a little bit of time. Now, again, let me actually say one other thing. It's a closed system. I'm telling you, it's got to be 200 people. The truth is, it just has to be a closed system. You can change it to whatever number you want to after it's working. Now, keywords there, after it's working. Prior to it working, you have to do it as 200. And the reason for that is, the reason why I'm so emphatic of it's got to be 200 is because you will quickly change it to 100 if I didn't say that, because you're going to see what happens here with just 100, and you're going to go, that's good enough for me. You got to do 200 until it's working. Once it takes off, you can change it to whatever number you want. So meaning you could change it. The most I've seen anybody individually be able to do and work is 300. But the least I've seen somebody have it be and still work is 75. But please do not leave here thinking, oh, good, well, I'm just going to do 75 instead of 200. You got to do 200 until it's working. Once it's working, you can change it to whatever number you want. You can go to 300 if you want, or somewhere down to 75. All right. We're going to assume I've got 100 people in there. So this purple represents the 100. The green represents the people who are either going to do real estate with me or refer real estate to me. The red, or pink in this case, we're going to say represents the people who are not going to do business with me. Now, before you ask the question, let me answer this. Sometimes people will say, well, why would you have any red in the system if they're not going to do real estate with you? And the answer to that is, in case you were thinking it, and if you weren't, you will at some point. The answer is, you don't know who is green and who is red until after they become green or red. And so until they become green or red, you just assume that they're clear or purple or whatever. Like, you don't know what they are until they turn green or red. Green is they either do business with you or refer it to you. Red is that they don't do business with you and you should not even have them in your system at all. But you don't know that until down the road. But for the sake of me teaching you this, we're going to assume that we know who they are. Make sense? Okay. So let's say out of 50, or out of 100, that I've got 50 that are red and I got 50 that are green. Now the reason I use green is because that represents money. I'm going to get paid. What are the odds now then of me in this system out of 100 people? Not 7%. Yeah, 50. So it's 50% are red, 50% are green. Make sense? That's why I'm using 100, is it makes it real easy for you to see the percentage. All right. Now, we already talked about yesterday and this morning, I have to be prospecting. I have got to be out generating transactions. I got to be contacting people, getting leads. As I get leads, I want to add them into here. But remember, what's our first protocol? Fixed in size. So if I've got 200, so any of you that are building it up, so you don't have 200, you got 89, what's going to happen is you're not going to probably get rid of anybody until you hit 200. So your objective, any of you that have less than 200, your objective is to get to 200 as fast as you can, which means you got to go talk to people and get their information to be able to stay in touch with them so you can add them to this system so you can get to 200. Go ahead.
Could that be anything other than your cold calls? It could be your internet leads, your referrals that you purchase. It could be any number of those.
Could be anything. Could be you go to dinner and you talk to somebody standing in line from 6 feet away and you get their information.
So some of the internet leads, I have their information, but they're not answering phone calls. Should they be considered?
I would be, actually, good question. I would be okay if you considered them as part of your SOI until you hit 200. And then as soon as you hit 200, they're going to be the first ones you get rid of because you've never talked to them. So I'd be okay with that. In fact, the way that I used to teach this for years and years, the way I taught it was this. And we don't have phone books anymore, but I used to teach it as go to the phone book and rip out a page of Anderson's and add them in. They're in your, like I used to say, start it at 200. Go rip out the phone book and put random names in there, and there's your 200. So yeah, if you've got internet leads, something like that, count them until you hit to 200, and then they're going to be the first ones you get rid of as you continue to do what I'm going to show you here, okay? So I go out prospecting. Let's say that and I don't care what it is, open house, door knock, cold call, whatever it is. In the process of doing that, I meet 10 people. So let's say I get 10 leads. You guys tell me a percentage. Of those 10, if you went and talked to 10 people, how many do you think you could say, if you stayed in touch with them, would turn into a green, or they do a deal with you or refer it to you? Out of the 10, how many should we say? There's not a right answer.
5.
Dan's, okay, I want to use something other than 5 only because of the math that I'm going to do.
Maybe 1, at least.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to use 1 for the first one, but after that, I'm going to have you choose a bigger number only because 1 will work for me to show you what I'm going to show you. It'll just take us the rest of we'll be here till 7 o'clock tonight for me to prove a point. So I'm going to use 1 on the first go around, but then we're
Do 3 then, Russ.
It doesn't matter to me, but okay, let's do 3. Just it will make it easier. All right, so I add 3 people that are green. Now the truth is, keep in mind, I really don't know who is green until down the road, but we're looking ahead down the road and saying 3 of them are going to end up being green. So I now have 53 green, and the other 7 then are red, right? So now I have 57 that are red and 53 that are green for a total of how many? I should have done this class in the morning, apparently, because
Yeah, wait, what?
yeah, in the afternoon you guys are like, what? I added 10 to 100. How many do I have? How many do I have? Okay, thank you. Was it just too easy of a question? All right. Yeah, you don't have your calculator to add 10 to 100. All right. So we've got 110. Now, watch this though. Now, somebody does probably need a calculator unless you're really good. Divide the 57 into 110 and tell me what percentage that is. I can hear Jake pounding away. So
I didn't realize I was unmuted. It's almost 52%.
okay, so I'm going to round it up to 52 then. Okay, so now I'm at 52% here, which means that this side is going to now be at 48%. Now, look what just happened. What just happened? There's 2 things that happened here. I went from 50-50 to what? 52% red to 48% green, and my workload increased by 10%, essentially. So hold on. This is an open system, guys. I just went from 100 people to 110. My workload just went up by almost 10% to get worse results, percentage-wise. So I went from a 50-50 chance of getting a transaction out of the work to a 48% possibilities of getting a transaction out of more work. So I'm going to do more work to get less. Can you see the problem? Now, what would happen? Remember I said to you there's agents out there that brag they got 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 people? If I keep doing this, and the same thing's going to keep happening, the workload keeps going up, and this is going to keep getting worse. What happens to the person who says, I got 4,000 people? Yeah,
They're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Now, watch this. What you are going to hear, which I think is probably somewhat true, although I actually don't believe this is still true, because this is one of those anecdotal things. What you're going to hear is that from your database, you should be able to get 10 to 15% of them is the number of transactions you should get. Well, so let's just use 10% then. If that's true and somebody has 4,000 people in a database, how many transactions should they do? I know I'm doing too much math in the afternoon.
400.
400. What do you think the chances are that these people that have 4,000 people in their database do 400 transactions a year? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that as a single agent that has 4,000 people in their database and they do 400 transactions a year. I don't know anybody across the whole country. See, the reason that's why I'm saying this is anecdotal data. It sounds good. And it actually probably is somewhat true as the numbers are lower, but the more you increase the number of people in your database, the less likely you're doing a transaction. Yeah.
Until you start filtering them out, is what you're saying.
Perfect. That's right, Dan. That's where we're going. So what's our first protocol?
You want to add as many as possible and then filter them out. That's what I would think.
Okay, good. But you're right. What's the first protocol? No, the first protocol is closed system. That's what you meant. So yeah, so if that's true, and granted, remember for the sake of what I'm showing you right now, our closed system is 100, even though in reality, you gotta be 2. So if that's true, what do I gotta do here?
Get rid of 10 of the red.
Okay, I gotta get rid of 10, and I don't wanna get rid of any of the green, right? So I'm gonna get rid of 10 of these. So I'm gonna minus 10. So now I have 47 red, 53 green. Oh, my green's dying. Dang it. So I now have 100 people. I'm back to where I should have been at the 100. So now what's my percentage here? Yeah, 47, 53. Whoops, I'm using the wrong color here. 53. 47, 53. So now what happened? By changing it to a closed system, what just happened? Yeah, now look at, I've got the same amount of work as I did at the start of the month or week or whatever. I got the same amount of work, but I went to 53. I went from 50% to 53. Can you guys see? That's the magic of a closed system. Now watch, I'm going to do it quickly. What would happen if we did it again? And let's say this time we got really lucky and we got 7 that were green, which means we got 3 that were red. So now we would be at 50 red, 60 green. And now we're at 110 again. So we got to fix it by doing what? Get rid of 10.
Get rid of 10.
That's right. So I get rid of 10 red. So now I'm at 40, 60. So now I'm at a 60% here, 40% here, and 100 here. What's going to happen if I keep doing that?
Eventually, you'll have 100% green.
Okay, good. So essentially what should happen is I should get to 100% green. I will tell you, you're probably never going to get to that because along the way, people are going to go get their real estate license. They're going to move out of state. They're going to blah, 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 whatever. You're probably never going to get to 100%. But here's what I will tell you. When you can get to this number of 60% being green, you're making a lot of money. So meaning, don't worry about I got to get to 100%. Once you get to 60%, what I have found, that 60% number becomes the magic number to say, if you can now count on this system to generate you over a 6-digit income. And when I say over a 6-digit income, depending on the price range that you're in, which I'm going to show you next, is where it's going to determine, are you in that 150 or 250 or 300,000? What is it going to look like? Now, let me tell you real quick about a couple of agents. One of the agents that I trained in this, she actually, and I should call her. I haven't talked to her in a long time. But her number of people was 97. Once she got it working, she put her fixed in size number to be 97. And the way she decided that was based on protocol number 2 that I'm going to give you in just a second. And so she's at 97 people and she generates over $300,000 a year in income with 97 people. And she does no other prospecting, guys. Zero prospecting outside of what I'm teaching you. And you can get to that point if you'll follow these protocols and do what I'm going to show you, okay? So now, let me show you how that is. But first, I'm going to give you protocol number 2. So protocol number 2, protocol number 2 is this. So the second thing that you have to do in order for this to work. Number 2 is you have to have contact. Remember that we talked about with the prospects here that you had to have contact with them once a week. This one you had to have an appointment. Over here in this suspect column or this SOI column, you have to have contact with them 1 time per month. So you got to have contact with them once a month, and it's actually technically it's 2 times, but 1 time per month is personal contact. The second time, so you're having 1 other time through email or mail. Okay? So protocol number 2 is you have to have personal contact with them once a month and email or mail, and you can decide how many you want to do of email versus mail or whatever. But you need to send them an email and a mail or a mail, not and or, an email or a mail once a month and have personal contact with them once a month. Okay? So that's protocol number 2. So number 2 is you got to have that contact with them once a month personal and once a month email or mail. Now, in terms of I'll answer the question. I should quit answering questions before you ask them and wait for you guys to ask them so that I can get you engaged. But I'm going to answer it anyway. Usually the next question is, well, what do I mail to them? So I'll ask you guys to get you engaged. What should you email or mail to them?
A market update or, you know, I don't know, like a home buying process brochure or.
Okay.
Any.
Okay. I like what Molly just said there at the end. Anything. At the end of the day, anything that you send to them works. Now, I will give you what I think is the ideal. More of the ideal would be some type of a market update. Or what I would recommend to you guys, which I don't want to turn this into a Zap class, but I would get them set up on Zap, in the Zap system, and set them up on the home value updates in Zap. Okay? And we'll offer classes on that. But get them set up in Zap and put them on the home value update is the best thing. Now, let me give you a real quick. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Send them something is really what it is. Anything. Now, with that being said, though, in the Realtor magazine, there used to be a funny section that agents could write in funny things that happened. Well, an agent had written in and said, I mail out recipe cards to my clients every month. And I got a call from a client that said, hey, we love your recipes that you send out, but we moved and we want to give you our new address so that you can continue to send us the recipe cards.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one before.
Yeah, what's the problem with that?
They only wanted her for the recipe.
That's right. They liked the recipes and they sold their house without her. Is that a problem? Yes. So that's the only reason I would recommend you send to them something that is real estate related, not a recipe card. This is another one of those things where, again, it's one of those shiny objects that people are going to show up and say to you, hey, check this out. If you sent this to your clients, we got this great thing and they look so good. And as agents, we look at it and go, oh, that does look really good. And oh, that would make me look really good to my client. And so we sign up and start sending them recipe cards. And then they relate to you as what? The recipe card lady, not the realtor. So whatever you send to them should be real estate related, is what I would say, okay? Now, so you need to send them something that way. Personal contact. You should be having some form of personal contact with them. So I would say you should be calling them and or texting them is the question that usually comes out is, can I text them? It only counts as a contact with them if they respond to your text. If you call them, then I'm okay with it. If you leave a voicemail, as long as protocol number 3 is in place, which protocol number 3 is you have to have permission from all of these people. So when you were asking about the internet leads, yes, you can count them as part of your 200, but your objective is to get them on the phone and get permission from them to stay in touch with them. Now, obviously, an internet lead, I'm going to first try to get an appointment with them, but if I can't, then I want to get permission. So think of it this way. In your prospecting, your first objective, your primary objective is to set an appointment. My secondary, if I can't get an appointment, is I want to add them to this system. So I am going to ask for permission to add them, which I think I already gave you that permission script, which is I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. I'd like to add you to that list. That's permission. So as soon as you have permission from them, you can then leave a voicemail or do a text or whatever. But I would say you need to have personal contact with them. Meaning if I call and leave a voicemail or I send them a text and they don't respond to me, in my mind, they're moving from being clear up here where like they're not green or red, they're clear. The more times you try to get a hold of them and they don't respond, the more red they become. Does that make sense? The less likely that they are that they talk to you, the more likely I'm going to consider that they're red. Did I tell you guys online to put your name and office in the chat box? I don't remember if I did. Please do that again. I don't think I did looking at it. So please do that again just so I have the record of who is here. So name and office. And somebody last time, I don't remember who it was now, but just put Everest. If you can put the office that you're in would be best for me. I mean, Everest is fine, but my assumption is that you're probably all with Everest. And if you're not with Everest, that's okay, because I know there were some that were invited. And if not, just put the company that you're with. But yeah, if you'll throw in your name and office that you're in. Thank you. So, okay. Now I lost where I was. Permission. You got to get permission from them to be in there. We're going to then have contact with them. And here's the thing. Remember I said to you at the start of this, you got to do it the way I teach you for it to work. And if you don't, it's not going to work. This is an example of that. So I'm going to ask you a question. When I am calling them once a month, what is the purpose for my phone call?
To remind them that you're there to provide any service or any real estate related service they might need.
Okay, good. So to remind them that I'm in real estate, to keep top of mind, those are good answers.
Build a relationship.
That's a great answer too, Sunshine.
Set an appointment.
But it's wrong.
And
And setting an appointment is not why either.
To get more clients, because you're reaching out saying, oh, hey, remember me? Do you have anybody who's still looking? Are you looking? Things like that, so you can grow your business more.
Good answer. Not right. Okay. And I'm not picking on you guys by saying this. But remember I said to you, you got to do it exactly the way I said or it won't work. This is the first place that people get thrown off. And what I mean by that is if we get together in 6 months from today and I were to say to you guys, why are we making the phone calls? You're going to answer me the same way you just did, which is the first way you mess it up. So do not feel bad that I said to you, like, number one rule in teaching a class, don't make the students wrong. And I just made you guys all wrong. Nope, that's not true, wrong. So just know I'm not intentionally, I am intentionally doing it, but I'm not trying to make you feel bad by doing it. What I did that way for a purpose of this next protocol that I'm going to give you, which I'm not going to give it yet, but the next protocol that I'm going to give you is counterintuitive. So what does counterintuitive mean? Okay,
the opposite of what you think you should do.
Perfect. It's the opposite. So if what you guys think you're calling for, you guys just told me, and I said no, it's the opposite of what you think you're calling for. So what would be the opposite reason you would be calling?
Just to say hi.
Just to check in.
No, that's in the middle. You're getting closer, but do the you guys said, what did you say the purpose was? To get an appointment, to get a deal, to stay top of mind. Well, what would be the opposite of that?
Provide
No, I want the opposite of that.
Just
The
to say
opposite.
hello.
Nope.
Your intention is not to get a deal or an appointment?
Now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. The purpose of my call is to not get a transaction out. So what am I looking for when I call them? Let me give you a hint.
How they're doing.
What did I do every time I rolled this and I got a number that was not the 6? What did I do?
Want to get rid of them. If they're-
There we go. Good. So what's the purpose of my phone call?
To see if they're still green or if they've changed to red.
It's to find the red. The purpose of my phone call is, see, we think of it as I'm trying to find the green. I'm calling through trying to find the green. And good. Oh, I just saw Nick typed in here. Sorry. Like a minute ago, Nick gave the right answer. To weed out the people who don't want to do business with you. That's the purpose. So I'm going to write up here, protocol number 4 is look for red. See, the purpose of my call is counterintuitive. I'm calling to find the people that I don't ever have to call again. That's the purpose. The whole purpose of my call is I want to try to find out who can I get rid of. Now, why? Why am I looking for the red and not the green? Because we intuitively, we would think we're calling to try to find an appointment or a transaction or somebody who's going to do business with me. Why am I not doing it that way?
It's easier to make that phone call.
Okay, why? Why? Good, I like that. Why is it easier to make the phone call if I'm looking for red?
Because you're looking for the rejection.
Yeah, because I'm looking for a rejection. So good, that's part of it. That is part of it, is if somebody rejects me and says, don't ever call me again, if I'm looking for red, I'm now excited. If I'm looking for, what's that?
It frees up the slot for you to add a new person.
That's right, because why? And why do I want to do that?
Just to keep growing my business in the green
You
area.
want to raise your percentage on your green.
That's right. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is fill this up with green. But why am I, so you're good. I'm going to ask the same question again because there's more to it. Why am I not calling looking for the green?
You already have, they're already green.
You want to keep your fixed closed system size, the 200 people?
Okay, good. I like that. Say what you said, Molly.
Like you already have the green ones, so you're gonna keep content with them. But like every spot of red you get rid of is just another potential green.
Good, good. Yeah, think of it this way. Here's the thing. I'm going to say it to you differently, but the same thing. People lie. At the end of the day, people lie. When you ask somebody, I've got a select group of people that I stay in touch with and I'd like to add you to that list, would that be okay? They're going to say yes, and they have zero intention of ever talking to you ever again. They have zero intention of ever giving you a lead. But they're not going to lie and, they're not going to tell you the truth and go, yeah, no, don't. They're going to say yes to you. Why?
Easier.
That's right. To get you off their doorstep or to get you off the phone. So they're going to lie. You're going to have good friends that we're going to tell you, yes, if we did a transaction, we would use you, and they have zero plan of doing it. They just don't want to tell you the truth. When the truth becomes more important than the deal, you can have the deal. But until the truth becomes more important than the deal, you won't get the deal. Because they're going to lie to you and tell you, yep, I would use you, and then they're not going to. And so, yes, the reason we're calling looking for the red is to free up a spot for somebody who might be green. So the purpose of me calling looking for red is I want to weed out the ones who really are red. So I'm calling looking for the red. If you're calling looking for green and somebody hem-haws, you're going to pretend that they're a green still in your mind. But if you're calling looking for red and somebody hem-haws about you calling, you're going to be able to tag them as they're red. So how else are you going to know who is red?
They don't answer, they don't respond.
Good. They never answer my phone call. It doesn't matter what I say in the message. They don't call me back. They're red. How else am I going to know?
Oh, we already bought a house.
Yeah, they use somebody else. Now, the good news is if you're following these protocols, that shouldn't happen very often, but it does happen. You drive by and there's a for sale sign in their front yard. Red. How else are you gonna know who's red?
They kind of always brush you off like, oh yeah, sure, okay, we'll get in touch with you when we need to get in touch with you.
Perfect. How else? There's 2 more ways that I can think of.
They just tell you not to call.
Okay, good. That's one of them. They tell you, don't ever call me again. They're red. How else? There's one other way. I'm not expecting you to get it, so I'll probably just give it to you. But how else would we know if they're red? Because there might be more than one other way. But any other thoughts? Okay. I'm gonna get there. Yeah, they're dead. Good. That's a good one too. When they die, they're red too. Yeah. If they're dead, they're red. We'll use that as our theme. If they're dead, they're red. Okay. Yeah. Here's the last way you know that they're red. You have to call them how often?
7 times.
Once a month.
Once a month.
Once a month.
Okay. Now, actually, let me tell you what Nick said. They don't come to your birthday party. That's a good one. Hey, Philip laughed. Nick, you got to be here live so you can tell some jokes to make people laugh. All right. Yeah, that would probably be a good way of knowing. Here's how the other way you're going to know. And this is probably the best way for you to know who is red. So remember, you got to call them once a month. So you got to have a system in place that tells you when you're supposed to call. You're going to have a day that you open it up and you look at your list of people you need to call and you decide, I don't really want to call them. Guess what they are? When you look at their name and go, I don't want to call them. Guess what? They're red. The fact that you look at their name and are like, I don't feel like calling those people today, they are red. So don't call them. Get rid of them. That's the good news. See, if you're looking for green and you saw that, you'd be like, oh, I'll call them tomorrow. But if you're looking for red and you look down your list and you go, oh, I really don't want to call this person. They're red. Then don't. Put the sticker on, get the free roll and move on. That's the good news. See, that is the reason we call looking for the red. And this is the first piece that you're gonna forget. So I'm trying to really pound it into you. If you forget that the purpose of your phone call is to look for the red and you start calling looking for green, this is not gonna work for you. It'll quit working because you'll hold on to people you shouldn't be holding on to. But if you know I'm calling looking for the red and you get on the phone with somebody and they kind of go, oh, hi, Molly. I'm paying attention that if they act like they're not excited to talk to me, guess what I do? I go right back to reestablishing permission. So watch this. Let me show you what I mean. So I call Molly and don't be excited. Like when I call, realize like, oh, shoot, I wish I wouldn't have picked up. Okay. Maybe don't say that, but in your voice, say that. All right. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, is this Molly?
Yeah, this is.
Hey, Molly, Russ Orchard, Century 21. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Hey, I just was checking in with you to see if you had any real estate needs, anything I could help you with. And so now I'm also teaching you right now how I handle the phone call. Hey, just checking in with you to see how things are going and see if you have any real estate needs or anything I could help you with. Not really? Okay. Well, hey, now because I'm sensing she's not that excited to talk to me, I'm going to do this. Well, hey, I just wanted to check to make sure that you're okay with me still staying in touch with you. Have you been getting the stuff I've been emailing to you?
I've seen him. I haven't really.
So you haven't really looked at it or anything. Okay. Well, so I guess really my question is, I only want to be calling you and sending you that information if you're finding value in it. So would you prefer that I not?
Probably.
Okay, perfect. See, now notice how she responded. That's probably the way they're going to be, is like, oh crap, I don't want to tell them no. But because I'm asking, now remember, I'm looking for the red. See, if I was looking for green, I would never ask that question. But because I'm looking for red, I'm saying, hey, I just want to see if you're finding value because I only want to send it to you if you're seeing value in it. Is it something you want me to keep doing?
I don't really know.
I mean, it sounds like probably not then.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, no worries. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take you off the list. I won't call and bug you anymore. But if you do ever have a real estate need or you hear of somebody, please let me know.
Sounds good.
Great. Talk to you later. Now, if I'm looking for red, I'm excited for that because now I get a free throw. That's the dice putting a sticker on it. I just figured out somebody who's not going to do real estate with me. Now, here's the good news. It has been 10 years, maybe even 11 now, since I have done this system. And remember, this morning I told you in my neighborhood that I lived in, I did probably 50% of the transactions that happened in that neighborhood. The reason is because I went around the neighborhood and added as many people as I could into this system to do this. And then I just stayed in touch with them on a monthly basis and updated them. Here's what's going on in our neighborhood in terms of real estate. And then when it was time to sell, they called me. Now, here's the thing. 11 years later, I still get deals out of this. But I haven't been doing any of these protocols for the last 11 years. So here's the thing. Even though I take Molly off my list, if I had already been staying in touch with her for 9 months, a year, something like that, if she ever has a real estate need down the road, she's more than likely going to call me. That's the good news. But I don't have to put any effort and energy into it anymore because I figured out that she's read, or my assumption is she's read. See, same thing. If I would have pulled up the list and saw I need to call Molly today and I went, she's never excited to talk to me. I don't really want to call her. If you fill that, they're read. Get rid of them. Just remove them and go find somebody else to replace them with. Does that make sense? Okay. What questions do you guys have on this? How much for Russ Orchard's custom SOI scripts? Free for you, Nick.
I guess I'm just picturing this and I'm thinking, so if I do what you say that to do, and without my SOI, the people that I actually know, these are pretty much leads and stuff. So, and I'm thinking, well, what if they're mostly red and I keep getting red? I mean, I guess.
Oh,
yeah.
good. Thank you. Watch this. Watch what happens. Let me show you what happens. Okay, let's say I'm at 60-40 here. So what she just asked is this. What happens if I go and get 10 leads and all 10 of them are red? So now I'm at 50 red, 60 green. Well, what do I have to do?
Still only drop red.
Well, I got to drop red, and I'm not going to drop the 10 that I just add. So I'm going to drop the oldest 10 or whoever I feel like is red. I'm going to get rid of those people. So now what happened? What happened between here and here? No change. Like, that's the good news. See, you can't mess it up. The only way you mess it up is if you get rid of the green. But if you add 10 red and you get rid of 10 red, you're no worse off. You just stayed right where you were. But
Take me more than 9 months.
it will not take you more than 9 months. I promise. If you will do this and follow it, within 6 to 9 months, you are going to have business coming from this like you can't believe. Now, tomorrow's class is going to be all about how do I bridge the gap for the next 6 to 9 months until this starts to work. So just know I'm going to show you how to bridge the gap. Because remember, when we're prospecting, we're looking for now business. But I also want to capture this along the way so that 6 to 9 months from now, I don't have to work as hard. Now, so here's where I usually wrap this up, and then I'll answer any other questions you guys have. And that is this. Put in a calendar somewhere 9 months from today. And I want you to call me 9 months from today and tell me if this is working or not for you. Now, here's what I will tell you. I've been teaching this for 15 years. I've had one phone call in 15 years. That's the only reason I say I don't believe that you're going to really do it, is because very rarely do I get a phone call 9 months from now to say, wow, Russ, it's working exactly like you said. But guess what else I don't get? I don't get a call that says, I've been doing exactly what you said for the last 9 months or 6 months, however you want to do it. I've been doing exactly what you said for the last 6 to 9 months, and it didn't work. I've never gotten that phone call. I have gotten the phone call once. This is where I say once. I have once gotten a phone call from somebody that said, I have in my calendar that I'm supposed to call you, but I don't know why. And I said, oh, I can tell you why. You were probably in this class, and I said to you, call me in 9 months and tell me if you did exactly what I said. And he goes, oh yeah, I didn't do it. Oh, okay. Well, you were supposed to call me and tell me either I did it and it worked, or I did it and it didn't work. And he said, well, I'm calling you to say I didn't do it and it didn't work. Okay, well, I'm not surprised at that. So what I'm saying is call me in 9 months and either tell me it worked or call me in 9 months and tell me, here's the thing. If you even make it 6 months of doing it and it's not working, then call me and I'll help you. We'll figure out what you're doing wrong. Here's what I've found. Usually what you're doing is wrong is you're looking for green instead of red. That's the first thing I find. All right, what other questions? Okay, go ahead.
So looking at the SOI script, it looks like it's geared towards looking for green instead of red. Is that just kind of
Meaning the permission script?
I'm not exactly sure. I just started reading it today, so I'm not sure.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that in the company one. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Ultimately, what you're looking for when you're calling is for them, if you sense that they're not excited to be talking to you, attack it head on, reestablish permission. See, now, if I would have said to Molly, hey, it sounds like you maybe aren't as excited about this as, you know, me sending you the information. Would you prefer that I not send it to you? Like, that's really the difference, is I'm essentially just reestablishing permission. Are you okay with me doing it? And now, if she would have said, oh yeah, actually, I like getting it. I just, you know, I'm just busy right now. Okay, so listen, I'm probably not going to attack it every time, because if the first time I call that she sounds like that, I'm probably not going to go, hey, are you still okay with me calling you? I'm going to probably make a note of didn't seem too excited about talking to me. So that the next time I call, if she does it again, I might be saying, hey, are you okay? Now, let me show you what I do. If, let's say that I've called Molly 3 times and left messages and I haven't heard back from her. So it's been 3 months now. On the 4th month, this is the message I'm going to leave. Hey, Molly, this is Russ with Century 21. I've got a really important question for you. So ultimately, this is what you want to say. I've got a really important question for you. Call me back. Now, if she doesn't call me back, what is she telling me? She doesn't care that I have a really important question, which means she's not interested. So she's red. Get rid of her. Now, what if she calls me back and says, hey, Russ, you had a really important question for me. What did you need? What's my really important question?
Are you still looking for a house?
No, not are you still looking for a house?
Are you finding value or reason?
Ultimately, I'm just asking, are you still okay with me contacting you? I just want, hey, I hadn't talked to you in 3 months, or actually now 4 months, I guess. It's been 4 months since we've talked. I just wanted to make sure you're still okay with me sending you the information and me contacting you once a month. And if she says, yeah, I'm sorry, we just don't have a need right now. No worries. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't avoiding me because you didn't want me sending it. If you're good with me still sending it, I'm going to keep sending it to you. Is that all right? Yep. Okay. Great. Talk to you later. That's it. All right. What other questions? All right. Well, if you did not put your name in the chat box in your office, please do it. Otherwise, I will see most of you in the morning. So tomorrow is going to be, both the morning and the afternoon are going to be about lead generation. And we are going to do the first, so both will be related, meaning the whole day is about lead generation. We're just going to break it up into 2 parts. So there's a part 1 and a part 2. And essentially what we're going to work on is how do you go do it and get business out of this? So how do we, hopefully every class that we do at this point now is going to be kind of tying everything together for you. So
tomorrow there's one at 10 and 2.
10 and 2 tomorrow, same thing. So, and both are on lead generation. So different classes, but same topic. Okay, thanks for being here. And I'll see you in the morning.
Thank you, Russ.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. And if you're not sick of me, I'll be doing Morning Ascent tomorrow too that you can watch. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet.
Thanks, Russ.
Figure it out. You're welcome. Thanks, Sunshine. See you.
The Thursday Ascent College